So without further ado, hello, I'm Warren from Olometrics, and we are going to be talking about how to structure your website and blog for SEO. This is a framework that we've developed in our agency. It's called the Levels of Awareness Framework, and I hope it's going to be very valuable in allowing you how to think about how SEO is organized on your website and the different pages of your website, having a plan for them, having a plan for what kind of keywords you want them to rank for. Philip from Overcast, it's great to see you. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm Warren from Olometrics. Very nice to meet everyone. I'm one of the co-founders and managing directors here, and it's very exciting to be here. We are a team of digital marketers. We do Facebook ads, Google ads, search engine optimization, like I'm talking about today. But we place a really strong emphasis on analytics with our clients. So we really want to connect the dots from how much our clients are spending on ads right down to conversions and revenue that they are getting in return. And the same thing applies for SEO. So when we're doing SEO efforts with our clients, we want to know what is that getting us for impressions or clicks to the website, and how valuable is that traffic for us. So I'm also the former marketing director at a company called Kintech, and the reason I'm sharing that is I'm gonna have some Kintech examples today, because I spent a lot of time there throughout my marketing career and really had to think about a lot of these concepts we're talking about today when I was in that position. And I'm also the lead instructor at BrainStation, which is a tech ed institute, and I teach digital marketing classes, including SEO classes like this. In fact, this is one of my classes, and I like to share this photo because a lot of the learning that we've done in the last couple of years has been online, just like this. So today is kind of like, not like a sales webinar, but it's more like a mini class. So I'm glad you're all here because we are really just going to go through some SEO concepts to help you become a better marketer and a better search engine optimizer, or SEO as they're called in the industry. And so that's really what today is about. Think about it as a mini class, and that's what we're talking about. So how did this all start? How did I think about this framework? Well, I was meeting with a client, and it was about a year ago, and they asked the question, which pages on our website should we try to rank for which types of keywords, right? So we're doing this keyword research, and they're trying to think, okay, which keywords does our blog need to rank for? Which keywords do our services pages need to rank for, or our homepage or about page, etc.? And so I was trying to answer that question. And it kind of, I said, well, I'm going to have to get back to you. I think I spent the rest of my Friday evening trying to conceptualize how to answer this question. And that's really what this presentation is all about. So trying to answer that question, which pages on our website should rank for which keywords. So there's 4 important factors to consider. The first one is how your website is structured or organized. The second is what your ideal customer is searching for and the intent behind their search. The third is how to tell Google what your pages are about and which pages are important. And the fourth is how to move your ideal customer through your website to the point of conversion. So it's one thing to send a bunch of traffic to your website, but if it's the wrong type of traffic, it's not your ideal customer, it doesn't do you very much good in the long run. And I've seen this on many different websites that we have started working on with new clients. And I see these blog posts that are getting a ton of traffic, but they're getting absolutely no conversions. So that's what this is all about, understanding your actual ideal client and creating the content that's going to bring them to your site and then move them through your pages. So how we're going to unpack each of those 4 bullet points kind of lines up with each of these categories of topics. The first one is website architecture. Second is the levels of awareness. The third is on-page SEO, and then the fourth is internal linking. So like I mentioned, it's a little bit of a SEO mini class today, which I think is great because you guys are all taking time out of your day. So it's not a sales webinar, it's about learning SEO. So website architecture, we want to answer the question, how should we organize and structure our website for search engines in the optimal way? So what is website architecture? Well, it is the natural linking hierarchy of how you would organize your website. So a typical website architecture would have your homepage on top, then your main categories, and then your subcategories, and then your extra pages. And other things like your blog and other pieces of your website will be in the mix here. If you're an e-com site, it's going to look a certain way. If you're a services-based website or B2B or something along those lines, then it's going to look a different way. And so, but the concepts are kind of the same, right? It's really about having this planned structure of how you organize your website. And the best practice, by the way, is to have links going to all of your pages. If you have certain pages that are orphaned that don't have links going to them, then Google can't crawl through your website and find those pages. So that's why we're going to talk about internal linking at the end. So why is this important? Well, a website architecture helps website visitors and search engines crawlers easily find what they're looking for on your website. And so it makes your website have a higher likelihood of ranking in Google. So the common problem that I've seen and pretty much every single company runs into at one point is that as the organization grows, add more services, you add new people to the marketing team or the web team or even directors, it starts to become a cluttered mess because everyone's asking for new pages for their piece of the company, or someone's got a new idea for a new product that you're carrying or service. So you end up creating these big loops and it becomes this big mess. So it takes a lot of work, but like depending on the size of the website. But this is the proactive work of keeping your website fitness up to make sure that it doesn't become this big messy cluster where people start to get lost. And again, it's a very common problem. And that's because most people do. They design websites based on what their company does, products or services, or what a certain department is asking for, and they don't design them for what their ideal customer is searching for. And so that means not for SEO. So the example over here, a company might carry, athletic footwear, flower bouquets, field hockey sticks, etc. So they're like, we need a page for each of these. Instead of thinking, okay, what is our customer searching for? Let's start to create content for those pages. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to get, you're not going to actually get some search engine authority and traffic through creating these pages, but it is going to be very sporadic. You're likely not going to make it to page 1 of Google. And so they say where's the best place to hide a dead body? It's on page 2 of Google, because no one goes there. And so it's really something to think about and be proactive with if you want to actually rank. So the new way that I'm going to propose today is to design your website based on the information that your ideal customer is searching for. So this means knowing your customer's needs and their level of awareness to your brand, your business, your products and services, and the problems which you are solving for them. So part 2 is levels of awareness. So here we are trying to answer the question, unpack that important factor of what the ideal customers are searching for and the intent behind their search. And if everyone can hear me, someone just drop me a quick message and say hi again. Just want to make sure I'm still online. So. And I don't see anyone, so I just want to say one more time. Perfect, loud and clear. Thank you. Last time we had some issues with Windows and stuff, so I just want to make sure. So in this section, again, what our ideal customers are searching for and the intent behind their search. So here is the levels of awareness kind of flow, and the framework is going to borrow from here. So at the very, very first stage, when you have a new potential customer, they are likely not aware of their problem. And so, this is going to be obvious based on their types of searches. And I'm going to show you that in a second as I walk through an example. The first level of awareness is that they're not aware of their problem. Next, once they move down and they start to identify maybe it's the self-diagnosis of what symptoms they are feeling, then they are problem aware. Now they have a name for that problem. The next stage is solution aware. So they've started to research online, find different solutions that are out there, and then land on one that might be right for them. And then they become product aware. So now they know which exact product they want. And finally, they become brand aware. So likely, once they know the product, then they're going to go to the company that is carrying that product. So now they know the name of a company to call or go visit. And the last piece is other variations of this. So different locations, people might be looking at brand aware. They might be brand aware, but they're looking at a certain location in their city, or maybe they're looking for a certain person that's working at, let's say, a clinic of physiotherapists, right? They might look for a specific individual that's there, right? So these are the different stages. And as you can see, the top is that that person is the furthest away from knowing that they want to purchase something from you. And the bottom is they are the closest. So the example for Kintech is this one right here. So this was a common question that we got. So I'm just going to move my mouse off the screen. So is why do my feet hurt in the morning? And this is a very common foot condition. It's called plantar fasciitis. So they might be searching when they're not aware of why their feet are hurting. Why do my feet hurt in the morning? So we could create a piece of content for that. The next stage, plantar fasciitis treatments. So now they know the name of the problem and they're looking for solutions. They don't know the name of the solution yet. So if I go down one more, foot specialist near me. So now this person knows they need to go see a foot specialist. That's the solution they are aware of and that they've chosen. So there are other solutions, but that's the one here that they are aware of. The next stage down, custom orthotics Vancouver. So I just put Vancouver there as an example, but now the person knows not only did they need to see a foot specialist for their plantar fasciitis, but they want custom orthotics. So these are really potent terms that are very valuable to the business. And if someone's searching for them and you are the person that sells custom orthotics, obviously you want to be showing up there. And finally, brand aware, Kintech Orthotics. So maybe they did some research online. They looked at the different Google My Business listings. They had remembered some sort of radio ad or some other advertisement that they saw or some word of mouth, and they know the name. So that's a brand aware search. And then finally, other variations here. This is just an example. Kristen, and the reason I put her name here is because I remember I created her business cards once and I spelled her name wrong. So now it just always sticks in my head, 2 I's, 3 E's. So Kristen Ohm Peterson Podorthist. So they know exactly who they want to go see here. And that is like basically beyond brand aware. So as you can see, they're moving through these levels of awareness, and we can target every single one of these with either keywords targeting on Google Ads or with pages on our website, or both. And so that's how this framework works. And I'm going to show you how to overlay the right pages over these searches. So this is kind of similar to something else called Struggle for Petersons. Yes, we have another Peterson. Yeah, it's 3 E's, not 2 E's and an O. So this is the marketing funnel. It's another framework, and it's going to look kind of familiar to what I just showed you, right? So awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, purchase. This is your typical marketing funnel when people are moving through the stages of the buyer journey. And you can see that this framework, the levels of awareness overlaps with that. But now we're just giving them a little bit different names so that we can kind of identify these searches and think about these actual keywords themselves. Are they problem aware? Are they solution aware, product aware, brand aware? And like they say, essentially all models are wrong, but some are useful. So there's going to be some instances where it makes more sense to think about a marketing funnel and the way that you're kind of targeting these people. And then there's going to be other instances where it makes more sense to think about these levels of awareness. So it's not the be all end all, but it is a useful model to think about, especially when planning web pages and SEO. So part 3, on-page SEO. This is going to answer the question of, here we go, how to tell Google where your pages are, what your pages are about, and which pages are important. So one does not simply start SEO with without a keyword research. I had to use a meme of Ned Stark. Every good presentation has one. So, but SEO really does start with keywords. That's the foundation of SEO, and really starting there and understanding keyword strategy and keyword research is so vital for success. So when you are researching keywords, there are 3 key factors for selecting the right keywords for your website. One is volume. So that is how many people are searching for this keyword every single month. It's very important. You don't want to be ranking for things that are only, that no one is searching for. That's a common one. People, they think, okay, people must be searching for this. We can actually look online and see that data and just know for a fact if they are or not. The second one is competition. How competitive are those keywords? What's the difficulty? Do we, as maybe a smaller website, have a chance of ranking for it or not? It's a very important thing to keep in mind. And then finally, intent. And everything we are talking about in this levels of awareness framework is focused on this intent column because it's the most gray area of the 3. Volume and competition, those are hard numbers, and it's really easy to see in your SEO tools. Intent is a little bit trickier. So the question about intent is, what can we infer from this person from their search? Now the questions that we have to try to sort through this in our heads are Are they not aware of the problem aware, solution aware, product aware, brand aware? And so the traditional categories of these focus keywords or types of intent is really these four columns right here: navigational, informational, commercial, transactional. And again, these kind of overlap over the other model that I just showed you guys. But it's another way to think about it. And if you're in platforms like SEMrush or Ahrefs or a lot of the other SEO tools, they will use these terms for identifying and categorizing keywords. So navigational, people are looking for a location or business, small business BC or website. Informational, they're trying to find information on something. Commercial, the intent or the search is implied. There's implied commercial intent here. So best software for accountants. This person is obviously looking for software, and they're an accountant, so they're in market for software. And transactional, they're actually using buying terms in the search. So again, these are valuable. They are valuable for organizing and thinking about keywords, but I find they are less valuable when you're thinking about how to design and line up your website pages to be targeting these, because I find then there's a lot of overlap. So that's why I came up with this framework in the first place. So what is a focus keyword? You might be asking. So a focus keyword is a single query or phrase that you want a page to rank for on Google. Every page on your website that you want to rank on Google should have a focus keyword in mind. If you're using tools like Yoast, or even actually Yoast is the example for WordPress sites, which is about 2/3 of the internet, I think is on WordPress sites. Actually, that could be wrong. I think it's about 1/3, but it's still a lot of websites. They actually get you to put in a focus keyword in the tool so that they can start to give your page scores against that focus keyword, scores and suggestions. So an example here would be best local SEO tools 2021. And that was actually a blog that we as a team wrote, Natasha on our team wrote a couple months ago, because we wanted to target that focus keyword. So we wanted to, for people that are searching for local SEO tools, we want to create a blog for them. And by the way, we also do local SEO for companies, right? So there was keyword research done. We created a piece of content to target that keyword. And then now we can monitor our progress and make sure that we are aligned to go after that keyword. So that's a focus keyword. How to optimize for it, how to then say, okay, if we know the focus keyword is best local SEO tools 2021, how do we now take a page that we're trying to create and make it rank for that? Well, we've got to put that focus keyword in a few places. It's not like Google Ads where we can just bid on it and then it starts working. We need to put it in some places on our web page and give hints to Google that, hey, Google, this is what this page is all about. So one place is in the URL, if possible. The blog post, this would say olametrics.com/blog/best-local-SEO tools 2021. And so we put that focus keyword in the URL. We're going to put it in the meta title or the page title, which is if you do a search in Google and you see the 10 organic results, it's the blue headlines. Those are the page titles. It's not actually visible on your actual page. It's also visible in the tab of your browser if you hover over it, and that's where you would see the page title, but it's hidden from the actual page content. You want to put it in the meta description. It's not actually a ranking factor in the meta description, but it does bold those keywords and make your click-through rate higher from the search engine results page, which is a ranking factor. So it just helps to provide extra context. You also want it to have it in your H1, which is your main, usually largest heading on the web page. If you're not sure if your heading is an H1, you can right click on it, click inspect, and then look at the actual HTML to see if it is an H1 heading. You want it in at least one H2 and 2 to 3 times in the paragraph content. It could be a bit more than that as long as it's natural. So you want it to be obvious to Google that, hey, this is what this page is about. This keyword is very it's dense in the content. And it's here a few times. You also want it to be in the alt text of one image. So every single image has what's called a little tag called alt text, and so it actually helps e-readers to read through a page. So for someone that is blind, they won't be able to see what's on the page. So they have an e-reader that reads through the website and tells them what all of the image is about. But it also tells search engines what those images are about as well. And so you can even have it in the file name of the image. So the added benefit of having it in the alt text of an image is that Google Images is also a search engine. So a lot of people will look for things in Google Images. They'll look for frameworks or SEO tools or something like that. So we created a diagram of the top 20 SEO tools with maybe all the logos, and we put that alt text in that image. Then that would show up in Google Images, and people would be able to click through and land on our actual blog post. So it's just an extra signal to Google, an extra way to get extra traffic to your site. But you want to avoid this. So you want to avoid keyword stuffing. So just a funny example, welcome to Red Apples Online. If red apples are you looking for, red apples, etc. So this was an old concept that used to work maybe about 7 to 10 years ago. And I don't think people really do it anymore, but it's just something to be conscious of. Google is much better at understanding semantics. So they want to see semantically related keywords. So red apples, you might use words like ripe, or different types of apples, Fuji, etc. Red delicious apples, etc. So you want those types of words to be in your content. If you actually use SEO tools like SEMrush, they have suggested semantic keywords to include based on your focus keyword. So you can use tools to help you out with this stuff, but just using natural language, making sure your focus keyword is in the content prominently in all those places in the previous slide, and then supporting it with high quality content outside of that. That is your best plan going forward. So the last and final piece of this is internal linking. And so this might be the most foreign, I would say, out of the different sections for some of the people here. But this is how to move your ideal customers through your website to conversion. But it also is very important for telling Google which pages are important on your website. Sorry, need a little coffee there. So internal linking. An internal link is a link on a web page that links to another page on the same domain or website. So if you think about there's two types of links basically. An internal link, it's on your website from one page to the next. A backlink is from another website back to your website. And an outbound link is, sorry for a third one, is from your site linking off your domain to something else. Maybe you link to Wikipedia to reference an article. So the pages with the most internal and external links are seen by Google as more important when deciding how they will be ranked. So that's it's something that not a lot of people would consider in the design of their website. If you use Yoast and you have a WordPress site, Yoast actually has a little counter to tell you how many internal links each page has. So if you have a really important piece of content or really important page on your website, it should have the most links. It should have more links than some really obscure article that you did back in 2015. Right. And so it's important to go through and do this kind of, maybe it's a quarterly or monthly inventory on internal links on your website to see, are we giving enough links to those pages that need it, those pages that we want to be ranking #1 on Google? And I'm going to go through a couple examples of how to think about that. So one way to internal link is to do a contextual linking. So contextual linking is the practice of using anchor text. So this is an example of anchor text. The words right here, anchor text, is the anchor text of this link. So this might link to a page that's all about anchor text. And but the words right here give Google a signal of what that page is all about, the page that it's linking to. So it's best practice to include the focus keyword of the page you're linking to in the anchor page of your link to show search engines and users what that target page is about. So the example here, social media agency. Let's say we had created a page on our website that is trying to target the words social media agency. Well, let's say we do a blog post on Facebook advertising. We would have a link on that blog post that says social media agency and links to the page social media agency where the focus keyword is. So you're basically telling Google not only with the content that's on that page that this is what the focus keyword is, but we're giving them Google extra hints all over the other pages on our website that, hey, yes, this is in fact what this page is all about. And that's the way to think about it. So the extra work that you have to do here is that when you add new pages to the website, you have to go back to your old pages and add those contextual links to point to the new pages. And that's something that no one does. I'm pretty sure nobody does that unless they're actively on your website all the time trying to improve things. So it's a practice. This is all about website fitness, but it definitely makes a big difference and it's not. It's actually harder to remember to do this than to actually do it on a consistent basis. So the other concept I want to talk about that is part of the framework, the levels of awareness framework, is cornerstone content. So when you have a certain focus keyword that you want to go after that is more difficult to go after, let's say it's plantar fasciitis, just plantar fasciitis. It's going to be a really competitive term. You're going to have big websites. WebMD, a lot of your big competitors are going to be going after those terms. So it's best to create what's called cornerstone content to go after these head keywords or the more difficult ones. So cornerstone content is the best and most complete content. It's about the core of your business. It's content you want people to find when searching for the topics that you specialize in. So it's often much longer form than a typical blog article. A typical blog article might be, let's say, 500 to 800 words. Cornerstone content might be 3,000, might be 4,000. And you're going to answer way more questions in depth. So this might be plantar fasciitis, the ultimate guide, and then where you're answering all of the different types of questions. What is plantar fasciitis? What are the symptoms? What are the treatments? What are the products? What are the like treatment plans or something along those lines? Maybe giving some resources and stuff. And so this would be a piece of cornerstone content, much longer page. It's also known as a pillar page sometimes, and then you're trying to rank for those head keywords, higher volume, higher competition, and then versus the longer tail keywords, which might be something like top 10 plantar fasciitis myths. So I actually do go over that in this example right here of topic clustering. So we've talked about focus keywords and blogs. Now we've talked about cornerstone content. How do we tie that all together? So there's an SEO technique called topic clustering, where you're going to create topics of clusters of groups of related content that collectively cover a broad subject area. So content clusters provide contextual support for all pages within the group, but they also lay the foundation for strong internal linking. And so to bring it back to our plantar fasciitis example, we have this plantar fasciitis, the ultimate guide, as this blue square in the middle. And then we're going to have all these blog posts around it. So what is plantar fasciitis? Top 5 plantar fasciitis myths, best plantar fasciitis treatments, and plantar fasciitis, and maybe like, why does my foot pain in the morning hurt in the morning? What does that mean? Or what do my feet hurt in the morning? What does that mean? Right. So we've got all of these longer tail variants of the word plantar fasciitis and topics that are related to it, and they're going to align around this cornerstone content piece. All of that is going to link to some sort of product or service page on your website, which is solving that problem. And so once they've come to you for the content and the initial kind of interest and evaluation, and they're learning and educating themselves, now you're moving them down into the product or service page that's going to start selling them on that product. So maybe it's an orthotic page, or it's a plantar fasciitis sock, if that's what you're selling, or it's foot special, it's a foot appointment or something along those lines, right? So you want all of this to lead somewhere. But in this topic cluster, as you can see, everything is linked together. All of these links are pointing to each other. If it's the plantar fasciitis myths or treatments or what it is, they're all also linking to the cornerstone content. So that page has the most links. So I know it's kind of might be a little confusing at first, but just having this as in your awareness when you're planning out your content strategy will make such a massive difference in the success of your blog and the content that you create and the reason for creating that content. So you'll have kind of a navigational cue for what do we actually create this pillar page or this cornerstone content on. And that's what this framework is all about. So I'm going to tie it all together with the framework. I'll show you guys the PDF. We're going to hand it out after in the follow-up email here. And it really ties together that section that I just went over. So, oops, maybe that's a little bit big. There we go. Let me know if that's visible for everyone. Again, we're going to hand it out, so you'll be able to read through it in a lot more detail after. But at the top of this framework, we've got the types of searches based on the level of awareness, and then the types of pages or posts to create for that stage. So this initial stage, initial understanding research, is the people that are not aware of their problem. So what kind of blogs and or pages or posts do you want here? You want some blog articles. It could be blog articles with videos, could be videos as well. But where these are like the longer tail keywords. Why do my feet hurt in the morning? Like those sorts of questions that you're asking or trying to answer right in the initial stages of research. You wouldn't necessarily want a cornerstone content piece up at that stage because these people aren't that valuable to you yet. They might be able to get this information from many different sources and still find you as soon as they start to research and refine their problem and their solutions. So next is the problem aware stage, and this is research and refinement. So things like, what is plantar fasciitis? Plantar fasciitis treatments. This is kind of like the golden level for most of your content that you're going to be creating. So most of your content strategy, your blog strategy is really trying to help people understand their problems better and then move them to the next stage down here to solution and product aware. And so when you're creating content, I highly recommend sticking in this section. And then down here, when we get to refinement selection, these are the solution aware people or the product aware people looking at foot specialist near me or custom orthotics or Hoka shoes. And so this is when we leave our kind of blog and come to our actual core website structure. So a product or service page or a program page or or something that you're actually selling at this point. So at this point, it's not about so much about educating them. It's about now telling them a reason why this is the right choice for them. Maybe you're backing up with testimonials or stats or some sort of incentive or offer, but you're getting them to that next stage. Again, and it's kind of like holding their hand and walking them down through the different stages of their awareness, but also your website. So these would be housed under some sort of category pages if you like. So, services, here's all the list of services that we do. And you might have multiple of these. I think as an agency, we have about 7 actually of each of these product and services pages. And each one of these is going to have a topic cluster that's connected to it. And then the same thing goes for products. If you're an e-commerce website, you're going to have categories of products. Maybe it's like you're selling supplements, it's like protein. Then you can have all the different types of protein. Then you can have all the different types of blog articles and content that are talking about protein that are all linking back to those products in that page. And then the last final stage here is the selection validation stage. So people that are brand aware, they're looking at Kintec Orthotics. So we're sticking with Kintec as the example. Kintec Orthotics locations, Kintec Vancouver, Kintec versus Bioped if they're researching you against a competitor. So here you would want your locations page if they're looking up Kintec locations with plural search, or things like Kintec Vancouver, Kintec Surrey, Kintec Maple Ridge, Langley, etc. You want a page for every single one of your locations. And by the way, the same thing applies for businesses with people that are servicing, like experts or something along those lines. Let's say like an RMT or a physiotherapist, or you name it. If you have specialists, people that are seeing patients or customers, where people might be searching them by name, you want to have a page for every single one of those people. Then you would have a team page, and then all of those people underneath on their own pages, and maybe at that point links to their Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever makes sense. So that's something that we are working on as agency right now, is to create that team page and all those individual pages for ourselves. So then down here, we've got our homepage. What does your homepage rank for? Usually it's your brand name and then a strong head keyword that you want to try to optimize for. Again, depends on your industry and the maturity of your business, what that head keyword would be. And then finally, competitor comparison page here. This would be, it's really popular in SaaS, but it could also be useful for other types of businesses where the competition's really stiff, right? People are comparing you against all your competitors. You can always create a competitor comparison page that shows them versus you and how you're better, obviously. And then you can even, with Google Ads, buy their keywords and then point them to that page and get a much higher quality score by doing so, because you've got their keyword on your site. So some of the other variations here are things like people looking up solution or product aware, plus a location variant or something like that. So they might look up customer orthotics Vancouver, customer orthotics Surrey, customer orthotics Langley, and then you can point those people to your location pages. So you can optimize that page for customer orthotics Vancouver, Kintec, or something along those lines. So again, like all models, this is it's something that is not, it's not the be all end all. It's not going to work for every single website 100% of the time. But if you didn't have a model before and you were asking yourself the question, which page to rank for which type of keyword, now you have a great place to start, right? And you know, okay, this is how we would fit a piece of cornerstone content in, how we would link it up around a cluster, and then where we need to send them after. It's always where do we need to send them next, and so this follows that whole framework down. So if anyone has any questions, please drop it in the chat. I'm going to try to answer some questions at the end of this, but I've got a couple more slides to go through, and then we'll get into the Q&A. Again, that framework was really trying to answer this question: which pages on our website should rank for which keywords? And so what this is going to do is going to shift from what I'm going to call the old way to this new way, which is the levels of awareness. In the old way, and I've been in companies where this was the old way, and then we shifted to the new. And I've also worked with a lot of companies that have dealt with this because it's kind of human nature to. This is like the default. So is to create company-centric content. You go, what do we need to sell? What do we want to say? Let's say it. Let's put that into a blog post. Let's create an article on that because that's what we want to tell people. So there's there is an argument that is good for brand building, but it's not good for SEO usually because that's not what people are searching for. It's also the old way is hippo-driven content or highest paid person's opinion-driven page creation. So you typically have people of a certain authority in an organization that are asking to get pages created or get pages improved. And so again, it's driven internally, not by external demands. You can hope to get lucky with keywords on these pages. You're going to get some traction, but you're going to have lower search engine result page click-through rates. So that means however many people actually Google it and then click on that link. And that means you're going to get a mix of irrelevant and relevant traffic. It's going to be okay. You're going to see some progress, but you're not going to be actually striving towards your goals with SEO. So by following this framework and doing the proper keyword research, you're going to create customer-centric content based on demand, right? People are searching for these things, and then you're creating content for them that is going to guide them through the user journey. You're going to make progress on your keywords. You're going to get higher search engine click-through rates, and then you're going to increase high-value traffic. And so, there's really no reason why you would do it the old way, other than maybe didn't have the chance to learn these topics and apply it to your website. But this is a process for it's an ongoing process, and a lot of companies struggle with it. And it's just it's now if you're in an organization that hasn't done this initial setup, then this is the best place to start in understanding these concepts. And actually, if you do need help, please feel free to reach out. I'm going to leave my contact details at the end of this webinar. So I'll explain how to apply this. So it was a question. I actually shared this with the internal team last week in like a pre-webinar run through. And the question was, okay, yeah, but we're not talking about how we actually apply this framework. And so I wanted to share this process here. And I've come up with a little acronym to help remember it. It's called ROAM. So the first thing that we would do as an agency, and that you should do when you're thinking about applying this to your own website, so the first stage is research. You want to research your own website using SEO tools, SEMrush, Ahrefs, Ubersuggest. So you put your website, your domain in there, you search through all of your keywords. You do the same thing for all of your competitors and industry sites, and then you expand on those keywords to find other variations. So at this phase, you're just really trying to get as much information as possible and not worrying about organizing. Because the next stage is organize. Now you're going to take those keywords and start to prioritize them by volume, competition, and intent. You're thinking, okay, which ones have a high enough volume that we can actually rank for and that have a high amount of intent. The third stage is to map them to the pages on your website, the appropriate pages, according to the levels of awareness framework. So now you're going to take those keywords and you're going to say, okay, these ones would be for the blog. We don't have blog posts on those, so those would be for future blog posts. These ones would be for our services pages or our actual core website pages. Are there any pages that are missing? Let's fill in those gaps. Let's plan our content strategy according to all of these keywords. And the final one is to execute this on your actual website. So it's doing this work actually on your website, the on-page SEO, the internal linking, measuring this in Google Search Console or Google Analytics, and then repeating the process. And the way that we like to do it is either it's a brand new website, we do this as a whole project, or take different sections of your website that are important to the business. Say, okay, we're going to work on this section. Example for us was a client, Penfolds Roofing. They wanted to work on their solar section. So we worked on that as a whole section of the website, all of the blog posts and the cornerstone piece and the solar sales pages. And then we saw a 100% increase year over year after working on those pages for all of the traffic that's coming to the website. Now we're going to do the same thing to the roofing section. So that this is the process to go through and how you incorporate the framework into your workflow. And with that being said, I think we're 42 minutes, so we're just under time. But I wanted to thank everyone for coming. And if you do have any questions, throw them in. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of information, so I was trying to make it as clear as possible, especially if this is new to you. But yeah, if you have any questions, I'll stick around here for a sec and try to answer them for everyone. So thank you. Thanks, Denise. Awesome. I'm going to come over to the questions. Thank you, Kirk. Okay. I don't see any questions, so signing off. So yeah, I'll just thank you for everyone for your time, for taking the time out of your day to be on this call, and really appreciate it. We'll follow up with all of the slides, with the PDF itself, and then also with the recording. So have a great rest of your day, and really thank you for joining us. Thanks, Emily, Leticia. All right, take care.